Marie Antoinette is famously supposed to have responded to reports that French peasants had no bread by saying, "Let them eat cake." The quote became famous because it perfectly captured the reputation she already had, a detached aristocrat who couldn't possibly understand the lives of ordinary people. The thing is, there's no evidence she ever said that. But it sounds like something she might have said, which is often more than enough. For example, there is also no evidence that she stood beneath the guillotine after the French Revolution had completely collapsed around her and said, "I appear to have misread the room." But it's certainly plausible, all things considered, and sometimes the story is simply better than reality. The sentence sounded like something she would say. For many people, that's close enough. A reputation is what happens when a story replaces reality. Human beings have always taken these stories surprisingly seriously. In the 1800s, if somebody publicly attacked your character, accused you of dishonesty, or otherwise damaged your reputation, there was a genuine possibility you would challenge them to a gentleman's duel because they said something about you. The story people told about you had consequences, so you settled the matter by standing in a field with a pistol and busting a cap in a gentleman's ass. A damaged reputation could affect your business, your social standing, your political ambitions, your marriage prospects. Some reputations become so powerful they outlive the thing they were originally attached to. Take Richard Nixon, a complicated and tumultuous presidency, and what do we tend to remember most about him? For most of us, it's probably that in 1962 he appeared on the Jack Paar program and played his own piano concerto on national television. But also, over the course of his political career, he opened relations with China, created the Environmental Protection Agency, signed Title IX, expanding opportunities in sports and education for women. He also escalated the Vietnam War, authorized the secret bombing of Cambodia, and resigned from the presidency following the break in at Watergate. Guess which one became a suffix? 50 years later, we still attach gate to scandals. Deflategate, Partygate. Most people spend their lives hoping to leave a legacy. Richard Nixon left part of a word you attach to other words. Darren points out in the office that Kleenex is the name of the brand, not the product. And now nobody asks Darren for Kleenex or his opinion about anything anymore. Darren is annoying and hard to work with. The strange thing is that once that reputation exists, people start trying to manage it. Today, that usually involves a LinkedIn post beginning with, "Some of you have been asking." No, nobody was asking. Nobody has ever asked, but now we're all reading because clearly something happened. A guy overheard who almost didn't make it onto the bus yesterday was telling somebody else that he came on with that this was called the Streisand effect. In 2003, Barbra Streisand tried to suppress a photograph of her California home. Almost nobody had seen it. Then she sued. Suddenly, millions of people knew it existed, which means there is now an entire psychological phenomenon named after advertising the thing you're trying to hide. It would be like filing a formal complaint with HR that people keep calling you knife guy, and suddenly you're finding yourself in a meeting with HR, your manager, and a surprising amount of discussion and documentation about your knife collection. The fastest way to get people interested in something is to tell them not to look at it. A school bans a book. Now everyone wants to read it. A company demands a criticism be removed. Now everybody wants to know what the criticism said. A neighbor says, "I don't want to discuss the fact that I was in prison." Now, all we want to know is whether they joined a gang and what they had to do to get in, because if the answer was heroin and a tattoo, you don't just quietly stop doing that one Tuesday afternoon. Surely there's a gang offboarding process. Is there a final meeting, a brief exit interview? Was there anything we could have done differently to support you in this gang? Do they ask whether clear expectations around extortion targets would have improved your experience? Was there a specific stabbing event where they lost you, or a particular smuggling initiative where you felt undervalued? But be honest, no one is ever really out, right? So is there a gang presence on your street now? And if so, could they use another member, even just on a freelance basis for the moment? Look, you're not interested in the murders or drug distribution or any of that stuff, but if they need someone to coordinate schedules, take minutes, or organize a regional planning session, you're willing to keep an open mind. Human beings have spent thousands of years cultivating reputations among neighbors, colleagues, and local communities. Then somebody invented an app where complete strangers can decide whether you're successful based on a photograph of your brunch, which is a tremendous amount of responsibility to place on hash browns. We don't remember the people, we remember the hash browns. And eventually, if the story about the hash browns gets repeated often enough, the story often arrives before the person does.